Welcome to Focus on the Five, conversations with Baldwin County business leaders and entrepreneurs, brought to you by Josh Knoll of Gulf Coast Financial Advisors. And now, Josh Knoll.
Hi everyone, welcome to Focus on the Five, conversations with Baldwin County, Alabama area entrepreneurs and business leaders. I'm your host, Josh Knoll of Gulf Coast Financial Advisors. We're coming to you today from the studios of WABF 1480, located here in beautiful downtown Fairhope, Alabama. And my guest today has a long history of real estate and property management at our incredible beaches along the Gulf Shores, and he also brings kind of a local expertise to his business. So I'd like you all to please welcome to the show Mr. Brian Harris of Harris Properties Management.
All right, Josh, thanks for having me. Here.
Yeah, I'm glad you made the time. All right, so let's dive right in. What is Harris Properties Management?
So Harris Properties Management, short answer is it's a full real estate brokerage. We specialize in renting vacation homes and condos. So we're sort of a boutique setup. We manage about 130 properties right now. We lean toward, most of our portfolio is beach cottages and homes. We do have some condos, but that's kind of our core business. And then we have a real estate sales division as well, and we have some realtors helping people. And most of their, business is in the second home, vacation investment type, part of the market.
And are they primarily down by the beaches too?
Yeah, so our main office is in Gulf Shores.
Okay.
So all the agents work out of that office. We do have one that's in the Daphne area that picks up some up this way. But most of our business is down there right along the coast.
You said that you all specialize in cottages and single family. Was that by intention?
I think that's just what my parents leaned toward. My dad was, and he was kind of the vision of, the investments. He called it the investment in the sand.
Okay, I like
so
that.
he looked at, he wanted a beach house. Like that was his, one of his life goals was to have a beach house. And they went and looked at, everything from, south and east of Mexico Beach all the way across through Panama City, Destin, all the way out through into even Mississippi. And they kind of settled on Fort Morgan,
Okay.
which is, that little, if you don't know Fort Morgan, I joke and say you're going to love it because there's nobody out there,
right?
Or you're going to hate it because there's nobody out there. Like, Fort Morgan is what it is. He really liked to be kind of away from the crowd, right, on his own a little bit. And Fort Morgan back in '83 was even more remote than it is now.
Oh, I mean, even back then, Gulf Shores was not as crazy as it is now.
Yeah, and
right?
Gulf Shores is still a nice, small beach town, but back then, in the early 80s, it was much, much smaller. Fort Morgan, when they bought, you didn't even have drinking water out there.
Oh, really?
Everybody was on a well. I remember asking why the water smelt funny. And we would have to stop at, I think it was Del Champs at that point, and get 5 gallons of drinking water and put it in the fridge, and that was our water that we
So when
drank.
you showered, were you
You could shower in it, and you could wash your clothes
water?
in it. It wasn't salt; it had sulfur in it. So every house had a well, but the water would come out with sulfur in it, which makes it kind of like gray water. You can't drink it, but you can do pretty much everything else with it.
Well, I grew up in the Ozarks, and we had well water, and our water had limestone in it.
Okay.
And if you set a glass there for too long, you'd have sediment at the bottom.
Wow. Yeah.
I joke with my wife. That's why my teeth are petrified.
Okay.
Or is that what you say? Yeah. She's amazed. I never go to the dentist. These things are solid rock.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
All right. So you mentioned your dad. Is Harris Properties Management a family business?
Yeah. So mom and dad, the story goes they took my brothers and I's college fund, and that was the down payment on the first house.
Well played.
And my dad's kind of like worst case scenario pitch to my mother was, hey, look, we've got this money, we can make the down payment, we can cover the note, but we are going to try to rent it to people and help. And if the worst happens, we can't get the rental side going. This is a 15-year note. I was 4 months old, my brother was 4 years old. So he said, hey, worst case scenario, we'll sell the beach house when they go to college, and we'll pay for college.
All right.
And she agreed. She relented. She was, he was the gas pedal, she was the brake.
Right.
And that's kind of the balance that my wife and I have. But she agreed that we could make that investment, or they could make that investment, and that was the first one. We still have it. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath beachfront cottage called Catalina.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, I noticed on your website that you have a name for it. So it originally had a different name, though.
Yeah, so originally it had the name of SH59.
All right. Was that the address, maybe, or what?
So that was the 50. My dad would label all of his properties.
Okay.
And that was the system that he came up with. So his first real estate business was Birmingham, because we grew up in Birmingham.
Okay.
And he got into buying houses that would be a residence. So he was leasing these houses out. And that was kind of his first business. And the beach was actually kind of his second real estate business. But I joke and say he was better at the investment than he was the marketing.
Okay.
Because he called it SH59. And then there was SH79 and 82 and one, they just kind of kept going.
Right.
And when I kind of came in and switched out to names, I feel like that's a little bit better.
And it's called what now?
It's called Catalina now.
And you all still?
We still have it.
Still rent it
have
out.
Catalina, still rent it out. It's a great little rental.
So your brother's 4 years old, and you buy this beach property in 1983? Is that catch that right?
So 83. I was 4 months old. He was 4 years old. Yeah.
So fast forward 15 years on the 15-year mortgage. Now we're 1998. During that time period, is that when your dad and family decided, hey, we might have something down here?
I think they just kept finding opportunities. They got their little rental side going enough. They didn't rent like they rent now, because it was a completely different market.
Right.
I mean, we're talking about not even before internet. We're talking about before cell phones.
Right.
So they had this black and white brochure that they would mail out. If you booked this year, you were getting a brochure next year. And they would just keep kind of this going, and kind of created the little rental business off of it. And then he kind of became known as the lawyer from Birmingham that would buy something quickly. And he would always meet the neighbors. Hey, here's my card. If you ever want to sell, call me up. He got several deals from agents that had a client that had to, unload a property really quickly. We have a property called Wall Street.
I like that.
He had talked to this gentleman a few times. If you ever want to sell, call me. And he had a margin call because he was invested in stocks on Wall Street, and he had bought a lot on margin. And I guess the stock market had gone down.
This was late 80s?
This was late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure.
Yeah. That's when a lot of guys got stuck on margins.
But he called my dad and he's like, hey, I need cash. And you said you would buy this. Are you still in the market? And he said, that's where we got that property.
And now you have it named Wall Street.
And now it's Wall Street.
It was SD something.
It was, SH, I don't know,
excuse me.
89 or whatever it was.
I love it. Well, so as the years gone on, so you're getting older. Your dad is actively growing. Your dad and your mom, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So actively growing a business down there. What did you grow up in Birmingham?
So we grew up in Birmingham, and I grew up. That's just how I knew. Their work environment. They had my mom worked for Bell South, as I was in kindergarten, grade school, kind of and she got the salary and the health insurance.
Right.
And that allowed Dad to kind of do this entrepreneurial journey that he had. And he had everything from a deck and fence company, because he knew a lot about repairing houses. Then he got his law degree and he practiced law for a little bit. Then he decided real estate was where his energy was. So he shifted and kind of did real estate, and that became the residential properties in Birmingham, and then it became the beach houses, and that's just kind of how it.
Love it. He's still working?
So, unfortunately, tragically, my father got cancer when I was in college, and he passed away while I was in school.
I'm sorry to hear that. So during that time period, did that force you to grow up quicker? I
think anytime you lose a parent, it forces you to grow up quicker.
Right.
So he passed away. We had Ivan. Then after we had rebuilt from Ivan, we had Katrina. Then we had the oil spill. So it was a rough 5, 6, 7 years.
In your 20s?
Yeah.
Dealing with this?
Dealing with that. Getting out of school, trying to figure out what was happening with my life and that sort of thing. But the idea was to come down here and help with the family business. Now, when he got sick, because I'd always seen them run this business mom and pop style owner
Sure.
investor. When he got sick, he put everything with management companies.
Okay.
And we have a great, debt owed to, several management companies down in the market that are still very active that helped us through that time.
Fantastic.
But once we came down to kind of be a part of, the business again, it became fairly evident that there was just a little bit of a, clash in the gears. It was hard for us to be involved and for the management companies to be involved. So it took a couple of years, but it was basically a situation where I went to my mom and I said, look, you don't need both of us, and we didn't know it was going to be called the Great Recession at the time, but
Sure.
we were in the middle of the Great Recession. I had a master's degree of business from Auburn, no work experience, nobody's calling me back, for a second interview kind of thing. And I said, look, I feel like I can do this. I've been running, your lake houses. We have a couple houses at Lake Martin for a few years through college. I've been doing that. And I said, I think we can do the same thing we're doing up there, down here, just at a little bit bigger scale, and make this thing happen.
Had you already moved down here? Or
So we were already down here.
already
at the
down
time,
here? Okay.
yeah.
Well, with that kind of background, so you started really young. I mean, really, that's the point of it. This thing's your life.
Well, I've been exposed to it
Right.
my whole life. People ask me, how long have you been in it? And it's like, when do you start the clock?
Right.
Do you start the
Right.
clock when, I was, 6 years old and my parents had, grocery bags of cleaning supplies in the living room to take
Right.
down to the beach? Or do you start it when...
I think it permeates.
I think you just get to see it.
I learned how to drive a tractor before I knew how to drive a car.
There you go.
Right, that kind of thing.
So just around it.
So do you feel with that background and, it looks like your dad kind of built the foundation and you've taken it to the next level, do you feel you kind of like you bring a different point of view to property management?
I do. I think that what we get to bring is a very owner-focused mindset, for the property owner. I think a lot of the business gets so focused on the guest and the guest's experience that they lose sight of the idea that all of this starts with the home and the homeowner. We can have, the best soaps and the best shampoos and, all that stuff and have, special features for the guests. But if we don't have the homeowner trusting us with the home, then there's no other business. That's the core or the foundation of it. So I got to see it and build my business plan to maximize that value for the homeowner. And that's on the revenue side. That's on, how we market the properties. That's on how we care for the properties. We've got 3 full-time salary maintenance guys now. So we're able to get into the properties and see what's going on and make sure that we're, protecting that asset for the owner.
That's fantastic. There's your commercial. What do you feel local expertise is important?
I do, and that's changed a lot in the last 4 or 5 years. Back when I started 2010, it was really easy on the marketing side. The marketing plan, I joke, was one piece of paper and it had 3 things on it. You had take good photos, buy a VRBO ad, and wait for the phone to ring. Like that was the whole marketing plan.
Right.
And it's changed a lot since then. There's a lot of, money that's come into the business. You've got a lot of national brands now.
Right.
Before we were competing against some very good local companies, but they were local companies. They were,
They were probably mom and pop shops.
They were mom
of
and
their own.
pops at one point
Right.
that got bigger.
Right.
And there were certain things they did really well and certain things that we could do a little bit better. Now that landscape has changed drastically. You've got a lot of venture capitalist funded, national, international companies coming into the market with their own ideas.
Right.
I remember one of these big companies bought another one, and the headline was, now renting 120,000 units.
Wow.
And I'm looking at that, I'm like, we were about 120 units at
Right.
that point, and it's kind of like,
How do I compete?
well, how do I compete? But it's almost like my smaller size is my competitive advantage.
That's right. Way more nimble.
Like I'm more nimble. I can make decisions on different marketing channels. I can know who my owners are.
You have personal
they can
relationships
know
with
who
your
I
owners.
am. Yeah, every
Yeah.
owner has my cell phone number.
Right.
So in that other setup, if you're one of 120,000,
You just a number.
yeah, so I feel like that boutique style gives us an advantage.
Well, thank you. Now you just did my commercial.
There you go. Yeah.
I love it. All right. Well, we're at 15-minute mark here. Let's take a quick break for station identification. For those of you just joining us on WABF 1480 AM, this is Focus on the 5, conversations with Baldwin County, Alabama area entrepreneurs and business leaders. I'm your host, Josh Knoll, and I'm joined today by Mr. Brian Harris of Harris Properties Management. All right, so you just threw some big numbers at the listeners.
Right.
But I'm going to be honest with you. I know you a little bit. You're kind of a modest guy. Is that a fair description of you?
I would say that's fair.
Yeah, I think it's fair. So, you are comparing 120 to 130, but I'd like you to tell the listeners just how big Harris Property Management has gotten. What have y'all grown to?
So right now we're managing about 130 properties. We are really excited to be closing in on a goal that we set about this time last year to hit $7 million in sales. So that's $7 million in booked reservations. That could be something somebody's booking for this December or maybe next July. Mm-hmm. But 2019 sales goal was $7 million. We're 52,000 away from that.
That's fantastic.
It's Tuesday, so by the end of the week, I'm hopeful that we'll have hit that.
Then are you just going to shut down for the rest of the year?
It would be nice, but no, we'll keep on making some reservations, and we'll throw a big party. We've got some nice incentives for the team. And
do you mind if I ask? Is it biggest year ever?
Oh yeah, it's the biggest year ever. Every year has been the biggest year ever as we've grown.
So you feel? One, obviously you've been well managed, kind of had the right foundation set up. Tell us a little bit about what the growth, because we have listeners and watchers literally all over the place at this point.
Sure.
So tell the people who are maybe not familiar with the beaches of Alabama, the changes you've seen and how that's affected your company over the years.
I think that they've gotten more exposure. I think everybody in the Southeast knew about the Gulf Coast. Mm-hmm. I think now most of the nation knows about the Gulf Coast, at least, east side of the Rockies knows about the Gulf Coast and the quality of the beaches down here. I think that brings a lot of investment. I think it brings a lot of guests, that are making the trip down here. We've seen, the rental side climb as far as an area, and I think the Gulf Shores Orange Beach, tourism board. I want to give an applause, shout out to them. I think they've done a terrific job of maintaining the family-friendly atmosphere that's present down here.
I agree.
And not allowing, a party crowd,
sure,
to not name names, a party crowd to come in,
right,
and make it a family-friendly, atmosphere.
Yeah,
and if we ever lose that, I think we're losing one of our core advantages.
I agree. Yeah, there's intentionality to that. I know I've got 3 young children. You have young children, mm-hmm. and always comfortable taking them to the beach, always comfortable taking them on the boat. Now, it might get a little crowded, on the intercoastal
sure.
and things like that, but you're not dealing with just nonstop racket and noise, and
sure,
like you're not having to shield your kids' eyes.
Exactly. Yeah.
And on top of that, again, for folks that aren't super familiar with the beaches down here, you got beautiful sand.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got the Gulf, you got the intercoastal on the other side, all the attractions. So there's no doubt in my mind why the area has just grown in popularity, like you said, nationwide, really. So, all right, let's talk about current projects that you have coming up and tie that into future growth. What's the future hold for Harris Properties
So one of the
Management?
things that we're really excited about right now is making a more deliberate growth effort in the residential sales side, or the real estate sales side, I should say. That's mostly aimed at the vacation market, the investment market, but that does trickle down into, we have a lot of retirement into Baldwin County. So growing that agent base that can serve those clients. When you start thinking about the number of people that come through, when you have 130 properties, I did the math almost 12 months ago, and we had 10,000 family units coming through, the management company.
That's incredible.
So when you start talking about those kind of numbers, even 1-2% of those want to start talking about real estate sales. That's a lot of leads.
That's right.
And we're trying to find good agents that can serve those those clients well.
Again, with kind of a local expertise.
Local expertise for sure, absolutely.
Well, so on the investment note, I mean, what do you think makes the beaches of Alabama such an attractive investment opportunity from a vacation rental standpoint?
I think a lot of people are attracted to a general diversification. I think a lot of people with their 401ks, with their other financial investments, most of that is stock based, and I'm sure you're aware of that. A lot of people are looking for what is another alternative to put some investment dollars that could diversify me out of swings in the stock market.
Right.
So I think a lot of people are like that aspect of it. The other aspect of it is that you've got an investment that you've bought for maybe 10% down, 15% down, 20% down. You're taking $200,000 and you're buying $1 million property, and then you've got a mortgage that these renters are paying for, and you're getting to leverage your
debt servicing.
Right.
You got a property management company you trust.
So my dad always talked about using other people's money.
Sure.
So that guest is the other people's money that's paying your note, and if you can get to cash flow, and then roll into another one, and that's kind of how he kept doing it. He just kind of said, okay, I've got my down payment, I've got my cash flow coming in. This one's set. Now let's accumulate and do a down payment for the next one, and then you just kind of keep rolling that ball down the hill. And now you've got, one paying for the second, and then now two are paying for the third, and three are paying for the fourth.
So he was Rich Dad, Poor Dad before Rich Dad, Poor Dad was...
He had very similar concepts, exactly. I read that book, and I'm like, golly, my dad was talking about this, 20 years before. So, and that's where I grew up. That was our kitchen table conversations. We were talking about, payback ratios and, mortgage interest. And
well, too, on top of that, if you got a properly managed piece of property and you've got a reasonable note and everything, you've got some cash flow probably generating too. You got passive income, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So.
And what we're doing on the management side is we want this asset to be as easy to hold as a stock in the stock market. We want to be able to handle everything for that client, so that they don't have to worry about the toaster or the oven or the AC unit. We're trying to make it as seamless and as hands-free as possible. Now, if they want to be involved, obviously we have the capability to get them involved. We have some owners that are like, hey, if it's broken, we're busy. We're a doctor or lawyer, whatever they are, just handle it.
Right.
And we have the capacity to do that and do it well and not, break the bank on it. And we have that owner mentality. We have that owner mindset. We're not going to buy the $2,000 fridge if the one's on sale for $1,200 does the same thing.
Perfect. Well, and the other thing too, just to be honest with you, owning a beach property is cool, right?
Yeah.
I mean, as desperately as I try to make investments cool, it's not that cool.
And that's the other thing.
There's
a lifestyle, part of that, and that's going down with friends and family. That's going down, and making memories. I mean, if you're thinking about, you can go down to your beach house, for the next 20 years and make memories with your family, and it's a great investment. That's a win-win all the way around.
Very good. I got a question for you I didn't get a chance to warn you about, but I hope you don't mind me asking.
Here we go.
Airbnb.
Okay.
How does that, you're on the inside of that.
Right.
We're on the outside looking in, wondering, how does that play into Harris Property Management? Do you see?
It is what it is. I've said about other real estate things, the internet is a wave, and you're either going to ride it or you're going to get, crushed by it or, swallowed up by it.
Or left behind.
Left behind, yeah. So Airbnb, I mean, it's a rental platform. Some people are going to want to rent their own houses. Some people aren't. If you want to rent your own house, then Harris Properties is not for you.
Understood.
If you don't want that hassle, then that's where we come in and we make this as hassle-free as possible.
Yeah, I don't think Airbnb is replacing toasters, last I checked.
Well, yeah, there's going to be, you're going to have to figure that part out.
Right.
And I've had people leave our program and say, I can do this as well as you can. And I said, well, you're doing the fun part. You're doing the talking to people about their vacation,
Right.
making plans, collecting money. That's the easy part. The AC breaking at 5:30 on Friday
Right.
is the hard part.
And you got a family of 10 coming in.
And you got to fix it.
Yep.
Somebody, you can't go to sleep until that gets fixed. And if you don't have the vendors and the people supporting down there, then that could be very difficult.
Well, and two, I think, in my line of work, the fact that it's so easy, it's a fairly easy job when things go right,
Sure.
right? Both sides. It's really the value comes in when things go wrong.
Exactly.
And when things go wrong, who do you call? And I personally, my wife have to answer this if we've ever used Airbnb, but I would imagine it's a 1-800 number with a bunch of numbers I got to hit and wait about 30 minutes to talk to a person I don't understand.
Yeah.
So you're telling me your 130 properties, your clients, everyone has your cell phone number?
Yeah, all of our owners.
All the owners, yeah, right. So when something goes wrong,
they can get me if they need me, yeah.
buck stops here.
Yeah, hopefully we can get it solved before it gets to me, but they can call me. And I think Airbnb, VRBO, like I said, I think they're bringing a lot of interest to the vacation rental space.
Right.
You can certainly look at the investments that have come into our industry and tell that that's taking place.
Yep.
So it's not like, we're on Airbnb.
Right.
It's a marketing platform for us.
Right.
We're on VRBO and HomeAway, and there's several others that we're launching on this year as well.
So you use it as a platform, marketing similar to, I wanted to pivot as we start wrapping up, Facebook. Is that, you have, for those of y'all watching on the video, make sure you like and follow Harris Properties Management. Y'all have about 8,500 followers on Facebook. Did that happen overnight?
It didn't happen overnight. Facebook, social media in general, is something that we took a very serious interest in about 2 years ago. We felt like, I preached to my team, it's getting harder and harder to get the next guest. So we want to make, almost build a community of renters and guests that are coming down, not just to an Airbnb or a VRBO home, but they're coming down to a Harris Properties home.
Right.
And so what we wanted to do is build a community on Facebook and not be salesy. We'll throw up a featured property every now and then, but we also have articles about, wheelchair access, points on the beach, and announcements about the area.
Highlight local businesses.
We do a live with the locals.
Right.
We were at High Cotton Bath Company at the Wharf just a few weeks ago,
Right.
talking to them about Christmas shopping season, that sort of thing. So just trying to be more, community based with that.
Yeah, when I started pivoting to this type of marketing, my thing to the powers that be was I wanted to be where people are looking,
Sure.
when they're looking, and how they're looking. In my opinion, if you're not there moving forward, it's just tough. You're slipping. You're getting left behind.
Exactly.
And it's all about how you use that, and especially if you're using that to leverage into community involvement and you're helping other people kind of promote their stuff, it's fantastic.
Absolutely.
All right, so on that note, what's the best way to get a hold of you or your company?
So obviously you can find us on Facebook, Harris Properties Management. Our website is ourgulfshoresvacation.com. So that's a great spot. We have a terrific, office staff and reservation staff. If you want to actually call us on the phone, I know that's crazy these days, and talk to a real human about your vacation, it's 877-4GO-GULF. That's 446-4853. So 877-4GO-GULF, and talk to a real team member of Harris Properties about your vacation.
Perfect. All right. Last thing, got any announcements you want to make?
I want to say Merry Christmas to everybody. It is coming up on the holiday season. We're excited about that. Just remind everybody to kind of get your plans set. We call January 2nd the start of booking season. That's when our phones start ringing and they don't stop until the end of about April. People making their plans, especially if you're going to make a plan in what we call mega homes, these big 6, 8, 10 bedroom properties where you get a bunch of families together. Those are going to book up really, really quickly.
Perfect.
So if you're trying to get down here and pick the spot and the date, you need to jump on it as quick as possible.
You need to get on it. Anything else?
I'm excited that we got to do this.
I am
Thanks for
too.
the invite.
Thanks for coming.
I hope we got some good info to folks, and if we're here to help. As I say, we're here to help you find your perfect spot in the sand.
Love
If
it.
that's a vacation, that's your perfect spot. If that's an investment property, we're here for that too.
Very well. All right, so if you're a regular listener to the show, then you know that we also film our conversation and release it on YouTube, Facebook, and on my website, gulfcoastfa.com. So if you're watching this video and you'd like to reach out to either Brian or myself, feel free to send us a message. We'll get back to you. And also, I'm throwing this in, Lori, remember to support local because local supports you. So we're big on that around here. Lastly, if you're a Baldwin County area entrepreneur or business person, you'd like to have a conversation like this one, reach out to me. You'll find my contact info at the end of the show. In closing, I want to thank again my guest, Brian Harris of Harris Properties Management, for joining us today. Did a great job. And also thank our producer, Miss Lori DeBose. And thank you all out there that have been listening to us. We appreciate your support, the things that you say out in public. I really appreciate that. I'm Josh Knoll, Gulf Coast Financial Advisors, and this has been Focus on the 5. Thank you. Have a great day.
Awesome.
Bam. Yeah.
Thank you for listening to Focus on the 5. If you are interested in learning more about Josh Knoll and Gulf Coast Financial Advisors, you can find us at gulfcoastfa.com. Call 251-327-2124, email josh.knoll@gulfcoastfa.com, or message us on Facebook.
Advisory services offered through Prime Capital Investment Advisors, LLC, PCIA, a federally registered investment advisor. PCIA, doing business as Prime Capital Wealth Management, and Qualified Plan Advisors. PCIA and Gulf Coast Financial Advisors are not affiliated. All information presented is for educational purposes only and is not an offer or solicitation for the sale or purchase of any securities.